Okay, so to back it up a little bit, I just said this to you guys, but I want this on the recording. So I'm going to start with just some tips, some meal planning tips, and then I'm also going to break it down to why we eat proteins, why we eat vegetables, why we eat carbs, so that you guys kind of know. And maybe give you guys some healthier alternatives. Like for instance, instead of eating rice, you could eat cauliflower rice. When I first started this journey, I didn't really have anybody that walked me through meal planning. You know, we have all these tips and things, and it's like you could go to Fixate, and I'll walk you guys through some of that so that you know just kind of like how I look at it, what I do. So we have the things, we have the, you know, the meal guides that break it down to, you know, we're supposed to eat 4 carbs, or not 4 carbs, 2 carbs, 4 proteins, and like things like that. But then it's like, okay, I have these 4 proteins, I have these 3 vegetables, I have these 2 fruits, or whatever. We're going to break it down for you guys to figure out what you're supposed to eat. But it's like, where do I start now? It's very overwhelming in my eyes because you have all this information, but it's like, what do I do with this information? So I'm going to share how I break my meals down and what containers of the categories I eat at what specific times. And I'll kind of explain the reasoning behind it. I'll give you an example. So, sorry, I think John's coming home. 1 second, I'll tell him. Okay, he won't be too loud. He's just grabbing his stuff and leaving. But for instance, I eat a carb in the morning instead of at dinner, but you got to figure out what works best for you. And I'll tell, like, the reason behind it is one of the first things that I wanted to tell you guys about is why we eat carbs. And carbs, the purpose behind a carb is to give us energy. So when I went through this training, it's called To Be Mindset, and they break everything down for you. And I was eating a carb in the morning because you want that energy throughout the day. You don't need an energy at night when you're going to bed, right? So that's why I break it down like that. And I'll explain all of that to you guys at the beginning. But then you got to figure out what works best for you and like what works best in your lifestyle, your jobs, and all of that kind of stuff. But I think just giving you guys a basic of this is where I eat all of these things, and I'm getting everything in that my program tells me. And then I think it will be easier if you're like, no, Tori, I just don't want a carb for breakfast. I would rather have one for lunch and a snack. I think it's an easier fix to take that carb and go here instead of, you know, at the beginning, it's like, okay, now you pick and choose where you're going to get all of these containers in. Does that make, I hope that makes sense. So I think it'll just be easier for you guys to rearrange a few things and have a basic thingy, like the basis of it, instead of saying, here's your 14 containers you're supposed to eat and I'll make meals from it. Okay. So I hope everybody has a notebook. Eventually we will get to that point. But I just wanted to go over just some basic tips. Sorry, excuse me. I don't want to make this too long, but I kind of want to get everything out there so that next week when you want to go and do another meal plan, you could just rewatch this and get some ideas or get clarification and do your meal plan again. I am willing for anyone on this call or in the future, if you guys want to get like meal plan ideas or do this again, I'm willing to do this whenever. I just need to know. Okay, so the number 1 tip is obviously I have hair in my mouth. The number 1 tip is drinking half of your body weight in water. So if you weigh 100 pounds, you should be drinking 50 ounces of water every single day. So take whatever your weight is, divide it by 2, and you should be drinking that much water every single day. Another tip with water, though, is to get that much water in, and it's very important to do this, you should be drinking 8 to 16 ounces of water before you eat every single meal. So for instance, if you have to drink 50 ounces of water every single day and you're getting, let's say, 10 ounces before every meal, that's 40 ounces because there's 4 meals, you know, like breakfast, dinner, snack, lunch. I went backwards, but you know what I mean. That's if you drink 10 ounces, 10 ounces, 10 ounces, that's already getting your 40 ounces of water. And then obviously you could drink 10 ounces of water during your workout or whatever, you know, like you'd get it in. So if you could focus on getting 8 to 16 ounces before every single meal, you're going to be that much closer to your goal water intake of the day. I thought of something else on water now. I just forgot. I don't remember. Okay, so let's go down the list of why we eat every single protein, and I'm just gonna kind of give you some tips. I thought about creating a graphic for this so that you guys don't have to watch this video every single time. So maybe I'll do that after this and I can post it just on some tips on it as well. Okay, so the purpose of vegetables is to keep you full and satisfied. You should have a vegetable at every single meal. And always have them on hand just for snacks, things to grab. That's the thing that I thought of for water. So it goes hand in hand with veggies as well. If you feel like you are, let's say you've ate your dinner and you're still kind of hungry and you're like, I'm still hungry, but I don't have anything left on my meal plan. The best thing to do is drink 8 ounces of water because you may just be dehydrated and you may just be thirsty. So if you've already ate your meal, so let's say even at lunch, you've already ate it and you're still kind of hungry, drink another 8 to 10 ounces of water and see if you're still hungry. If you're still hungry at that point, then you should be grabbing a vegetable. I think there's a saying out there that says, if you're still hungry, you'll eat carrots no matter what. So grabbing carrots instead of, I think sometimes after lunch, we always want that sweet thing. So even if it's a healthy berry, we would rather grab the berries instead of the carrots. So if you're truly hungry, you're going to eat the carrots no matter what instead of grabbing the berries. So after every meal, grab your water, drink the 8 ounces of water because you may just be thirsty, and then try to grab a vegetable to fill in the little gaps of your hunger feeling before you grab anything else. So veggies keep you full and satisfied throughout the day, and that's the purpose of veggies. There's tons of different veggies out there. There's a list that will go on after that. Okay, the purpose of carbs, and I said this earlier, give you energy. There should be fiber in carbs because they give us sustained energy. Let me put this right here so I don't have to keep looking down. And then this is the part where some of these tips that I think will be easier to write down instead of me just telling you, but I'll tell you guys and then I'll create that graphic. Okay, so for every 10 carbs, so if you look at the nutritional facts on the back of whatever you're eating, for every 10 carbs, there should be 1 gram of fiber in it. So for instance, on oatmeal, if you're looking at the oatmeal, for every 10 grams of the carb, make sure that there's 1 gram of fiber. And if there's not, then go for a different one. So if there's 20 grams of carbs, there should be 2 grams of fiber. And then for the sugar aspect of it, let's use oatmeal as well. For every, there should always be more fiber than sugar, or it should be equal. So if there was 20 carbs and 2 fibers, there should be no more than 2 grams of sugar in that, if that makes sense. Okay. I hope I'm not overwhelming you guys, but I feel like you guys can always rewatch this. Protein, the purpose of protein is to keep you full and satisfied as well. Whenever you're looking at the protein, there should be always more protein than sugar or fat. Deli meat, if you're eating deli meat, it should be nitrate free. For ground meats like ground turkey, ground chicken, whatever, should be 90, at least the 90, try to get the 93% lean. If you're doing like frozen turkey burgers, frozen any burgers, there should be at least 10 grams of protein in them. And then also always remember that your Shakeology is protein. It's like the protein container. And then the last category is accessories. So don't be afraid to just do like a little bit of, try to pick like the healthier things, like, but I personally think, especially starting out your journey, it's okay to have a side of ranch. It's okay to have a side of ketchup. There is ketchup now that is sugar-free, but it is okay to have just a little bit of hummus. It is okay to have like a little bit of, well, hummus is actually good for you. A little bit of, just have that pop of flavor, because I feel like if you don't, then you get bored and you don't want it again. So add on some seasonings, have a little side of whatever to get you to eat that meal. Any questions so far, Mackenzie or Sierra? Does anybody have anything to add? Okay, so let me pull up, before I share my screen, I should have done this. Okay, So I want you guys, and for the recording purpose, I feel like you guys will be okay because you can pause it after I say this. But I want you to go through and pull up your nutrition. So let me go back and share my screen. Okay, so I want you guys to go ahead and pull up this so we can walk through. Go to whatever program you're going to. So I picked on Bar Blend because that's what I'm doing starting on Monday. Go to program materials. You could click on, this is the same for every program, and then click on the nutritional guide and it will pop up. So you're going to scroll down to figure out what category you're in. I like this because it actually breaks it down. He already left. Breaks it down to, tells you some tips and stuff. Eventually I'm gonna get there. Sorry, I could have pulled this up, but that's okay. Okay, so here's where you're gonna break down. So this program, some programs, I think for instance, 21 Day Fix does it into an equation where it's like take your weight plus like 700 or whatever. So at this point, pause and figure out what category you're in. For me, that my new program breaks it down to, do you want to build mass? Do you want to maintain weight or lose weight? So for me, I want to build mass. I've never actually done this one actually. So my weight, I'm in between this one. So I'm going to do intermediate to advanced. So about 2,400 calories. Maybe I should have looked at this before because I am not used to that part. Oh, scroll down to find your weight thing. Has anybody looked at this part? Because I sure haven't. I'm so used to the 21 Day Fix one. That's what I usually follow. Maybe I should just go back and follow that. That might be easier. Because now I'm like, okay. Well, this is embarrassing. Sorry, guys. Okay, so let me stop my screen share really quick because it doesn't let me, or it goes really slow. I'm going to go back to the 21 Day Fix because that's what I follow. And I know how she breaks it down. I do apologize. So same thing, I'm going to program materials. I'm clicking on the nutrition. Can you guys hear my dog? He's so annoying. Key. Stop, please. Okay, so now let me share my screen because this is what I was talking about. Okay, sorry. So now I'm sharing my screen. This is what I was talking about. So you have, all the containers. If you guys don't have the containers, let me know. They're only $7 on here and I could ship them to you. But there's also a breakdown of, and like cups and half cups and 3/4 cups of these and like teaspoons and all that. So I can help you until you get those. So this is what I was talking about. So you take your weight times 11, and I'm going to do it. I actually know how much I weigh. I'm going to assume like 135 to make it easy. Okay, 135 times 11 equals. So then add 400 to that. Plus 400 equals. And then you minus 750. Okay, so I have my number. And my number falls into plan A. So this is where I want you guys to write down on a piece of paper. And I'm going to write it down so that I can keep referencing it for you guys. So I'm in plan A. So for me, I know that I need to eat 4 veggies every single day, 2 fruit every day, 4 protein every day. 2 carbs every day. 1 healthy fat. 1 dressing. And 3 oils or nut butters every day. Okay? But you may be in this category, you may be in this category. So that's where you guys are going to have to modify from what I'm doing when you go to do yours. And there's also other plans. Okay? And there's always recipes. And then, so pull up this on your calendar. So this is where I was saying at the beginning, I can't keep switching from thing to thing because it's not going to share it. But I want you guys to have a piece of paper and this in front of you every single time. So throughout the program, you can always come back to that equation. But I would assume you're probably in the same bracket throughout the whole time of a program, especially if it's like 3 weeks or 4 weeks, but always visit it after every program. So these are, they break it down to, here's some examples. So this is where I was saying at the beginning that I got overwhelmed, and this is why I wanted to break it down for you guys, because I was overwhelmed where now I know how many vegetables I was supposed to eat, but then I look at this and I'm like, okay, how do I put water chestnuts or whatever these things are called with all of this and this, you know, like when I first started. So that's why I wanted to give you guys a basic idea. But I also wanted to remind you guys about the nutrition tab as well. So if you go into, click on nutrition and scroll down, everybody has access to this one called Fixate, but not everybody has access to all of these. So I have access to To Be Mindset because I purchased that, but you guys won't if you haven't purchased that, and same for all the other ones. So if you click on Fixate, these are meal plans as well, or not meal plans. These are clean recipes that you guys can use as well. When I first started, I tried to use these recipes frequently, and it got to the point where it was overwhelming. So what I did was, if I wanted to try a recipe, I tried 1 recipe a week so that I wasn't feeling like I was in the, because I feel like it's more time consuming if you do like full recipes. So I wasn't spending as much time in the kitchen. I didn't have much, like so much of a mess, and I wasn't purchasing all the little things. So I would just pick a random recipe. These muffins are super good. I've tried quite a few things on here. The gluten-free waffles are good. There's like a cheeseburger, cheesy skillet thingy on here. Right here, the cheesy steak skillet is good. Chicken enchiladas, I've made a ton. They're super good. But you can always go through it. And then instead of scrolling through, because it says the page, now they changed it and you can just click on the recipe and it goes directly down to that recipe. But the last thing that I wanted to show you guys on this is it breaks it down and tells you what each recipe is equal to. So for 1 serving, it's half of a veggie, half of a fruit, 1 protein, 1 carb, 1 healthy fat, and 1.5 tablespoon. So you guys would know what you're eating for everything on here. So you can always go through and make that. If you're using a recipe on here, I highly suggest that you start with that recipe, and then, so on your thing, if you're eating, like, let's say those enchiladas for lunch, start with writing out the enchilada and then tally out what you've already ate from that, because I have found that I would eat my basic things for breakfast and dinner, and then I would write that out, but it didn't actually work for my containers that were left, if that makes sense. So if you're using a more complex recipe, start with that recipe and use a tally sheet. Okay, so this is where I'm going to get through and start doing mine. So I'm going to share my screen, but I'm just going to do it on a Word document. So how I do mine, and this is for me actually easier on, I'm hoping, Sierra, on my screen, can you see my whole thing, and like your guys' pictures aren't on this? You're good? Okay, perfect. Okay, so on mine, on a piece of paper, I'm definitely pen and paper type of person, but how I do it, at the top I always write out 4 veggies. That's going to be way too small. Let me make it bigger so you guys can see. Okay, so I always write 4. I feel like that's going to be really big. I always do 4 veggies, 4 veggies, 2 fruit, 4 protein, 2 carbs. And this is how I do it every single time. Oil, nut butter. So, and then I write out breakfast, lunch, snack, dinner. And this is how I break down my meals. Whoa, what the hell just happened? I don't know what just happened, but okay. So for me, so you guys should have a piece of paper written out and access to that list of what you guys want or what you want to eat. So for me, and I can write it here so that when you guys are watching this, I eat for breakfast a protein, an oil, because I make my eggs, a veggie, and a carb for breakfast, because the purpose of a carb is to give you energy. The purpose of a protein is to keep you full and satisfied, and same as a veggie. Lunch, I always do carb, veggie, fruit, I can spell, and protein. Snack, I do veggie, nut butter, protein, fruit. And then dinner, I do veggie and protein. And I think that works out for everybody. It works out. So let me look. I would have a veggie. So breakfast, lunch, snack, and dinner. So that works out there. For my fruit, I have it for lunch and snack, would work out there. Protein, I do every meal. So there's 4 right there. Carbs, I do, and I'll walk you guys through what I'm going to do for this week. My carb, I do for breakfast and lunch. Healthy fat, I'm terrible at this because I don't like avocado, and I feel like that's where I need to work. So I'll get those through. Oils, I do my nut butter and my shake, breakfast, and typically I make it because I use another oil if I'm doing like chicken or something on the thing. So and that's easy for me. Okay, so that's what I usually do. So now I'm going to make my meal plan with you guys. But that's where I wanted to really get to the point with you guys is like, where do I eat most of my containers? So now you guys can break it down to what are you going to eat? Okay, so for breakfast, my breakfast is the same every day. Sometimes you guys, people's bodies do well with like the same things all the time, and some people's bodies don't. But breakfast, mine's always the same. So I always do, eggs, and I switch this part up, like between scrambled eggs, hard-boiled eggs, sunny side up eggs. So I always do eggs, carrots, and oatmeal. I used to do bread, but I switched over to oatmeal. For lunch this week, I don't know what I'm doing. So that's where I would go to back to my meal thingy, and I usually start with a protein. So I would look at this list and what kind of protein do I want? I'm probably going to do, I think I'm going to do a turkey burger actually with a whole bunch of veggies. So stop my screen share, go back to my Word document. I'm going to do turkey burgers with Brussels sprouts, Did I spell sprouts? I didn't spell either one of them right. Brussels. That is too how I spelled it. Sprouts. Oh, the R goes before that. That makes sense. So a tip for Brussels sprouts, guys. I used to hate Brussels sprouts, and I really like them. I really like them if you put them in the oven and you can put a little bit of bacon on them if you want, but I usually just put a little bit of oil on them, a little bit of sea salt, and Parmesan cheese. Parmesan cheese is the key there. And then I'm probably going to do, I always do typically an apple because it's easy to buy and easy to pack for my lunches. And then I'll need to do a carb. So I'm not going to keep sharing my screen, but that's where I go back to my yellow containers and pick a carb. So I see sweet potatoes. So that's probably literally what I'm going to do. Sarah, can you still see my Word document? Okay. So I'm going to do sweet potato. Is this making sense so far and kind of helping you guys like break it down to seeing like what categories I eat? I think that's like the biggest thing is figuring out where you put the containers. Okay, so for a snack, another tip for this, guys, I used to eat my shake, and I think Sierra's the same way because Sierra actually gave me this tip where she blends hers up prior to it, and then she still takes it, and it's still purposeful. I don't really know what word needs to go there, but it still works. So what I've been doing is doing my shake for my snack. I really like it for my breakfast because it's convenient to grab it and go, but after lunch, I would crave chocolate so bad, or I was like still really hungry. And then dinner would come and I would just eat, because I've always just ate like a protein and veggie for dinner, and I would be starving still. So I've done my shake for my snack the last like 3 weeks and literally completely shifted. I don't really have cravings very much anymore. And sometimes dinner comes and I'm not hungry and I have to like force myself to eat. It's the craziest thing because I used to be completely different, I don't, you know what I'm trying to say, different, where I'd be like, dinner would come and I'd be like, I'm still hungry. I can't just eat chicken and carrots for dinner. And now I'm like, I have to force myself to eat these carrots because I'm not hungry. So for my snack, I do a scoop of my Shaco. I add spinach in my shake. Almond milk, only 1 cup, a banana, so this is where my other fruit comes in, and then a tablespoon of nut butter. And then for dinner this week, we're doing grilled chicken and then a veggie. So I'm probably going to do broccoli. I haven't had broccoli in a really long time. So that is my meal plan. Take a picture if you want a picture. I can post it in the page though too. But that's how I break my things down. I feel like, for me, I've been doing this for multiple years now, so it's easier for me, but I can see how I know because I was overwhelmed at the beginning, so I know that it can be complicated and overwhelming. Sarah, you've been doing this a while too. Do you have any tips or anything you want to add?
No, not really. I mean, mostly getting figured out that what containers you're supposed to use, and then just kind of making sure that you have all of them prepped. I mean, for me, I have not got to the part where I'm organized, where breakfast has this protein, carb, and whatever veggie. I haven't got to that point. I realize that I need 4 veggies in a day, and so, but I put spinach or kale or something in my Shaco, so I always count that. And then I bought the Power Greens, and I put that in my Recover, so I only have to get 2 more veggies in. So I typically do a veggie at lunch and supper because, again, they keep you full. I mean, that's something that I struggle with. So I don't plan out that much. I just plan, this is what I have. And especially like when I'm at work, working 12-hour shifts, that this is what I have. So when I'm hungry, go to my lunchbox and eat from there first. And so if it's a carb and a protein, or if it's a veggie and a carb, I don't really care because I'm eating, I know it's clean. I know that I already did, I have my amount of containers. So it just kind of depends on what kind of day you have, I would think.
Yeah.
If you have your actual breakfast, lunch, and supper, then yeah, that works great. But I don't. I get to eat when I can eat. And so this is what I'm going to eat. And I'm going to eat till I'm full. So sometimes I end up this is probably not good, but sometimes I do end up eating 2 veggies because I'm like, oh my God, it's 3 o'clock. I'm probably not going to eat supper again because I'm just now eating lunch.
Yeah.
So just eat to one goal.
That makes sense. And like I said at the beginning, you kind of just got to figure out what works in your schedule. But I think having just kind of like a breakdown of what works for me will be easier for you guys to go through and make your plan according to your guys' thing. But I highly recommend using that water tip and then also using the tallies. So at the very beginning, just put at the top, you know how many of the containers that you have to eat. I actually think that someone posted in the page the other day, I might be wrong, about like, because I think veggies is equivalent to like 1 cup. Protein, I want to say, is like 3 cups or something like that, but I can find it and break it down for you if you guys don't have the containers. But if you don't have the containers, I highly suggest that you order them because you'll be so surprised about how much food it looks. The container looks small, but it's really not. You'll be so shocked at how much food you're actually supposed to be eating and not restricting yourself. So my tips, my like biggest tips are to figure out what your how many of the containers you're supposed to eat, and use the tally system of like, okay, I know for breakfast I did this, so now I need to get 3 more. And then the water tip, drink 8 ounces of water before every single meal. Start by chugging water, especially for me, I do it where it's most of my lunches I have to heat up. So I put it in the microwave and I chug 8 ounces of water, and I know I'm getting 8 ounces of water. I don't even know what 8 times 4 is. 32? Look at me. I used to be a math geek in high school, but when you don't do math anymore, it's hard. So you're right there getting 32 ounces of water. For me, that's half of what I need to do every single day. Because I try to do, I think for according to my body, it's like 64 or something like that. So that technically would be half. But I know for my workout, I always drink 16 ounces. So then that's another portion. So technically throughout the day, I would only need 16 more ounces to meet my body weight. So drinking that water right before every meal really impacts the amount that you're supposed to drink every single day. But Mackenzie, do you have any questions? If not, I can stop the recording, and that's all I have.
I don't have any questions right now.
What did you feel like that was beneficial?
Yes, I really did.
Okay, good.
I think I have honestly never ordered the containers, and I think I'm gonna get those just to kind of help keep track of getting all of the fruits and vegetables and everything in.
Yeah, I think they're like $7.25 or something on the thing, and Sierra can probably send you the link to get them. They are $7 something. They're $7 something. I think.
Yeah, they're not that expensive.
Yeah, no. And I just feel like before I was like, really, you only want me to eat this container of veggies, and then you actually dump it on your plate, and you're like, holy crap, that's way more than it looks. And especially if you're making a salad, like if you're, so sometimes for lunch or dinner I'll do a salad, and I will do like, you know, the greens or whatever, like the spinach or lettuce on the bottom, and then you add your protein, and then you add whatever, and it ends up making like a big salad, and you're like, holy crap, like this made a bigger salad than you expect.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of people post videos of dumping their containers, and it does look like a lot more than you would think.
Yeah. I just made John eat the salad, but have you guys ever had like a burger salad? Everyone does the lettuce wraps on their burgers, and I feel like I always fall apart. So I've been doing my What part did you hear? Any of it?
It was broken up. You could heard something about. I heard something meat salad and something about in a roll.
Do you know how people do like lettuce wraps?
Oh yeah.
So mine always fall apart, I feel like. So I've been doing like lettuce or salad burgers. I don't know. So I put lettuce on the bottom, and then I heat up my burger and I like cut it like into small pieces, and then I put a little bit of ketchup, a little bit of mustard. John puts tomatoes in his, but I don't like tomatoes. Then we put bell peppers and like cheese, and I don't know, just like basically what you'd put on your burger. I put onion in it. It's so good. It sounds disgusting, but like I just feel like in my head it sounds gross to put ketchup on a salad, but it's like in reality it's like you put ketchup on your burger with lettuce, tomato, and onion. So I feel like for me it's just easier to put it all on the bowl, because my lettuce wraps always fall apart, and I always have like lettuce or like mixed greens in my fridge, but I don't always have like the lettuce boat things to make a whatever I was just talking about, lettuce wrap. Yeah, that's a little tip. I really like those. John and I eat those pretty frequently, actually.
That's a good idea.
I really like them. Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to stop the recording really quick.